Today we're going to look at the law of sines and the law of cosines, and we're just going to kind of touch on these briefly. You get way more into this when you get into upper classes, but we're just going to touch on the law of sines and cosines. These are two laws, and they're kind of formulas that you can use if you don't have a right triangle. This whole chapter we've done SOHCAHTOA, special right triangles, all of that stuff has right triangles. So what if it's not a right triangle? This is your go-to. All right, now before we get started, a little labeling notation, something that you should be familiar with is that when you, and I know that your notes are not colors, so this is maybe kind of important to see how this is labeled, but we always label the points, our vertices of our triangle with capital letters. We're used to that, triangle ABC, got it. But now we're also going to be labeling the side lengths. And the sides are always labeled with lowercase letters because it's kind of like a segment. So we do lowercase segments or lowercase letters. And the angle across from that side, see these are across from each other, the opposite, they always match. So here's A, its opposite side is little a. Here's angle C, its opposite side is little c. That's how they match up, and that's just a general rule throughout mathematics. So keep that in mind, that's kind of important. Now we're going to start off with the law of sines, and we'll practice it a little bit, then we'll do the law of cosines. They are each used based on what you're given, and if you're given different stuff, well, one time you'll use sines, you get something else, you'll use cosines. This is the law of sines. You have the side A divided by the sine of angle A should have the same ratio with every single side. So your little b over your sine of b, that ratio should be the same as little c over the sine of c. Now this is an extended ratio. All we really need are two of these fractions. So we'll pick out any two of these fractions and set up a proportion, which is what we just got done doing is proportion stuff. So ultimately what you need to have though is a matching set of letters. That means you got to have both b's or both c's, and what that means is you've got to have a side opposite of its angle somewhere in the picture. Okay, so if you look at this picture, and I haven't even labeled it A, B, and C because I don't want you to get too caught up in just the letters. What if you look at this triangle here and it wants me to find X and Y. One of them is an angle, the other one is a side. Now what I have to start off with is I have to find that matching set. I've got to find a side and an angle that are opposite each other, and I have it right here, 12 and 38. Those are opposite each other, so those would be the same letter if I had letters. Those would both be A's. This would be my angle A, this would be my side A. I'm going to set my proportion up with the known set that I have. So I'm going to say the side, which is like a little a, over the sine of the angle. That's the ratio that I'm going to base everything off of, because that's the one that I know. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look for it. It doesn't really matter if we start with the X or the Y. I'm going to go ahead and start with the side measurement. I'm going to look for Y first. So I'm going to say, oh, actually I lied. I'm going to need to do these in order. I'm going to do X first. So here's my match there. So I'm going to say 18 over the sine of X. Okay, now you're going to do your cross products. Boom, boom. 12 times the sine of X equals 18, I always like to put that in front, times the sine of 38. I'm solving for X, so I'm going to divide by the 12. So let's go to our calculators and let's figure out what this is going to equal. I'm going to do 18 times sine 38. Be sure to close that parenthesis. That's very important. Close your parenthesis now. And then divide it by 12. And I have sine x equals 0.92. Now if you will recall when we did SOHCAHTOA, when you were looking for the angle, you had to do your second sine. Same deal here. When you're looking for the angle, this used to be a fraction. Well, it's just a fraction that's been divided out. I'm going to do second sine, that 0.92 number. Now, the quickest way to do that on your calculator is to do second sine. And then instead of having to type that all in, which I can do, I can type in 0.92349, the whole decimal. But a shortcut on a lot of calculators, you can get the previous answer brought up. I don't know if you use that on your calculator, but I always do second sine. And then if you do second, and if you find an ANS little button on your calculator, it's usually like above the little negative key. It's the second of the negative key. And you do second sine, second answer, and it brings back the previous answer. It won't show it as a 0.92, but that's what it enters in the calculator. And then I get x, I get x to equal 67, and I'm going to go to the tenths place here today. And that's what that angle measurement is. Now, if you want to just do second sine and type in the 0.92, that's fine. You can do that as well. All right. Now, we found x. The reason I had to go find my x first is because I need to know what that angle is so that I can go solve for y. Because, let me start. I can't really erase stuff. Sorry, this doesn't let me erase very nicely. So, I'm just going to have to leave it there and change colors. Sorry. Okay, so if this is now 67.4, that's what this angle is, and I know this angle is 38, I bet you could find that angle up there. Yep, we're going to do 180, I'm going to subtract 38, and I'm going to subtract 67.4. All right, so now I'm going to put in here, oh, that angle is a 74.6. I need that because that matches my y. All right, part 2. I go back to my 12 over the sine of 38, because that's my given ratio that I know. And then I'm going to say y over the sine of 74.6, because that's across from the y. Now you do your cross products. So 12 times the sine of 74.6 equals y times the sine of 38. If I'm going to solve for y, I'm going to have to divide by the sine of 38. Okay, and then I'm going to type this in my calculator. I'm going to be really careful with my parentheses. I'm going to say 12 times sine of 74.6. Close your parenthesis there. It'd be good if you were doing this in your calculator with me. And then you're going to take that and divide it by the sine of 38. Close your parenthesis. Equals. I got my y value to equal 18.8. All right, there you go. Let's try another one. Okay, let's go through this one more time. On this example, I have two angles given to me, and I'm looking for two sides. So I don't have to go searching for an angle this time. And in fact, okay, so remember how we look for a matching set that we know both numbers? Here's a 62, but it's across from an x. So that's not a set that I know both numbers. Here's a set. I do not know both numbers. Here's a set. Oh, wait. I don't know both numbers, but look. If you know two angles, couldn't you figure out that one? All right, so sometimes you have to do that whole angles add up to 180 thing first. Then you'll have a matching set. So let's do that. Let's go 180 minus 62 minus 41. And that gets us a 77. So this angle here is a 77-degree angle. Now I have a matching set, and I set up my law of sines where I put the side over the sine of the angle equals, and I guess we'll look for x. X is a side, it's going to go on the top, over the sine of, and the angle that's across from that is 62. Now we do our cross products. 14 times the sine of 62 equals x times the sine of 77. If I'm going to solve for x, I'm going to have to divide by the sine of 77. Really, really important that you maybe try this in your own calculator, not just trust me on it, but I'm going to type 14 times sine 62 and close that parenthesis, or hit equals, that would do it too. Divide by sine of 77. I get 12.7 7 if I was going to round to the 10th here. So x equals 12.7. Okay, what I'd like you to do now is pause the video, and I want you to go find the y value. When you've got the y value found, then come back and press play, and let's see where it takes us. But pause it for now. Okay, this is the answer I got. I got a 9.4. If you did too, let's keep going. If you didn't, pause the video and look through it, see where you went wrong. I'm going to move on to the law of cosines now. Now, the problems I was giving you there earlier, you could always find this matching set that were across from each other. Now, if you can't get a matching set across from each other, that means they didn't give us that type of information. Maybe they gave us all three sides. If they give you all three sides, you would never have an angle to match up with. So there's different things they can give you to make that impossible to use your law of sines. So if they give you something where you can't do law of sines, then you'll use law of cosines. And there's two kind of formulas, and I will give you all these formulas on your test. You don't have to keep track of these formulas. Depending on if you're looking for a side or if you're looking for an angle, on this first one, you can see that I'm looking for a side because it says little a squared equal to b squared plus c squared. So this is a side squared. These are the other two side squareds. Minus 2 times, notice the same two sides. So minus 2 times those same sides times the cosine of angle A. A is the angle, remember, across from this little a. So that's kind of a big thing there. Those are across from one another. You're going to use this if you have an angle. Enter L or enter left to right in your calculator, no breaks. So if you're looking for a side and they gave you an angle, then you're just going to run it through your calculator. You're going to put your numbers in left to right, press enter at the end, boom, you're going to have your answer. Okay, this one you're going to use, and it's all this is this one rearranged. They did some algebra on it, rearranged it. If you are looking for an angle, you'll plug in all your sides. This is like the side, side, side thing. If they gave you all three sides, then you're looking for this angle, let's say. Now this angle is the angle that you would be subtracting right here. See how that would be that this angle matches that angle? Okay, the other two you're adding up, just like you were adding them here. Okay, you're going to divide by 2 times these two sides. Now, at the end, whatever you get when you plug this in your calculator is going to equal cosine A. So you'll have to do second cosine of your answer to get that angle. Let's practice a couple times. Okay, so here they've given me side, side, side. It says solve for the missing values. I'm going to have to do this a couple times. I'm going to have to find all the angles here, but really I'm just going to find 2 of the angles, and then I'm going to just subtract from 180 to find the third one. So here I go. I'm going to do law of cosines twice on this. I'm going to do, I don't know, let's do the 7.1. I'm going to work with the 7.1. So they gave me side, side, side. So that's the one that's going to look like cosine of, and I'm going to say cosine of t equals. And then I do, now this is, since t is up here, its matching side is down here. So that's going to be the one I subtract at the end. These are the two I'm going to add. So I'm going to write 4.4 squared plus 6.7 squared minus 7.1 squared all over 2, and then those first two numbers, 4.4 and 6.7, and we're multiplying all that stuff together. Okay, now I'm going to do this a little bit in parts because I don't want you to get goofed up in your calculator, but I'm going to go 4.4 and hit my squared button, plus 6.7, hit my squared button, minus 7.1, hit my squared button, enter. Now that's a 13.84 is what I get for that. And then I'm going to do the denominator, 2 times 4.4 times 6.7. and I get 58.96. Now I'm going to divide those two numbers. And then that's a 0.23, but remember, since I'm looking for the angle, I have to do second cosine on that, so I hit second cosine, and then rather than typing that whole number in, I like to do second answer. And I have t equal to 76.4 degrees. All right, let's try that one more time. I'm going to do it again. Let's do it with the 4.4. Doesn't matter, I can do any of them. I'm going to use the 4.4 this time, so I'm going to be looking for angle V. So here we go, cosine of angle V equals the first two squared, so not the 4.4 but the other two, 7.1 squared plus 6.7 squared minus 4.4 squared, divided by 2 times those first two that I had, 7.1 and 6.7. All right, cosine of V equals, we do the top part first, 7.1 squared plus 6.7 squared minus 4.4 squared equals, okay, so I have 75.94 divided by 2 times 7.1 times 6.7. All right, I've got a 95.14. Go ahead and let's divide those two numbers out. And I get 0.798, whatever, and I do second cosine because I'm looking for the angle, second answer. And I end up with a 37, it actually would round off to 37.0 degrees. And then the last thing I'm going to do to find angle U is to subtract those two from 180. So I got 180 minus 76.4 minus 37. I'm just writing that for the sake of your notes. I wouldn't normally do that on my paper. 76.4 minus 37. Got it, 66.6. And so that'd be the last angle. U is 66.6. All right, so you're just kind of plugging and chugging through formulas, and again, I'll give you those formulas for the test. Let's try one more. All right, we're going to try one more here, but this time they're giving me something different. Now, again, let me point out that law of sines is certainly shorter than law of cosines, but here's another example where I don't have a matching set here, I don't have a matching set here, I don't have a matching set here. I don't have anything to match up for law of sines. I'm going to go to law of cosines. This one is different than our previous example because they actually gave me an angle this time. So this is going to be the other version of law of cosines. It's the long one without the fraction. So peek back at that formula. Let's give it a shot. I'm going to work on, since they gave me angle 104, that's angle L, I'm going to be working on like side L right here. So for side L, again, I'm doing that long one, the L squared equals. And that's what I'm looking for. Now I do my other two sides squared. And then I subtract 2 times those same two sides. And then it's the cosine of the angle I know, the 104. That's across from the L. This is the one where you just type it in left to right in your calculator, no breaks, don't stop, just keep going. Here I go, 48 squared, don't press enter, plus 29 squared minus 2 times 48 times 28 times cosine 104. I never pressed enter until now. Okay, and L squared is equal to 3818.5. Now that's L squared, so I will square root both sides. So to square root that number, for me, I do square root, and then I do second answer, so I don't have to retype that number in. I hope you're getting the hang of using that button, because it saves you lots of time of typing stuff. All right, now I have that side length. It's 61.8. Now, with this being a 61.8, I now know all three sides. And if I wanted to, it would be possible. I could go, now I have a matching set, and I could go back and do law of sines if I wanted to. And that would certainly work. If you want to do that, you can do that on your homework. I'm going to go ahead and keep practicing our law of cosines because we already practiced law of sines about 4 times. I wanted to practice a little bit more on the law of cosines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on finding one of these angles, and I'm going to look at it like they gave me side, 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 like on our previous one, and we were looking for an angle. I'm going to look for angle N, which means my special side is going to be the 48. That's the one it's across from. That's little n. I'm looking for big N. So using my formula from the previous slide there, that's the one you start off with cosine of your angle. I'm going to do angle N equals the two adjacent sides, the 61.8 squared plus 29 squared minus your special side, the one across from your angle. And then in the denominator, it's 2 times those first 2 that you used. All right, in my calculator, I'm going to type 61.8 squared plus 29 squared minus 48 squared. And that's going to be my numerator. I get 6.24 divided by, now I do the denominator, 2 times 6 point. Ooh, did you catch that? I put my decimal in the wrong place there. That's kind of important. This is 61.8. Scoot that over. Times 61.8 times 29. I get 3584.4. Go ahead and divide those two numbers. And cosine N is equal to 0.657 something something something. Now I'm going to do second cosine to figure out the angle. So second cosine, and I do second answer, so I don't have to type that in. And I got N to equal 48.9. All right. We've got, what are we left with? Angle M, it looks like. That's the last thing that we don't know for sure. That's going to be the one then that I go and to find angle M. I'm just going to take 180 and subtract the angles that I know now. I'm going to subtract the 104 that they gave me and subtract my new 48.9 that I found. All right, I got angle M to be 27.1 then. And I've got all the different sides and angles for that triangle. All right, that's a lot of work on those, no doubt about that. That's a little bit more, just like I said, it's a taste of what you'll get into when you take pre-calc and trig. Okay, good luck with your homework.